So we've been talking a lot about timings of the prayer and mandatory prayers and 5 daily prayers, and it is a pillar of Islam. And now we got the purification out of the way. We know that we should be praying at a mosque, or even if you're praying at home, there are timings of the prayer. And in fact, Allah has told us that He told us actually in Quran that there are specific set times of prayers where you should be praying. And in fact, the reward is the more the reward is when you pray at its time, at its earliest. What does that mean? Let's talk about the 5 daily prayers. And for the most part, you pray exactly the same way, just maybe different times or a little bit longer for each 5 daily prayers. And let's write those down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what are these 5 daily prayers that we're talking about? And I'll be giving you their names in Arabic because you'll be hearing that a lot. Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr. Again, spelling might be a little bit different in some mosques or not. Like for the case of Dhuhr, sometimes people will say Zohar with a Z instead of with a D, and that's mainly in the Southeast Asian, like Pakistani or Indian populated mosques. They might say Dhuhr, but either way, you know exactly what they're talking about. And then we have Isha. Now, if I had to give him an English name, then it would be morning. Okay, noon, late afternoon, sunset, and night. These are the 5 daily times that you should be praying. Now, remember that, in winter days, so there's no way I can say, yeah, Fajr is at 5 o'clock in the morning. There's no time like that. Remember that each part of the world, depending on how far you are from the equator, everything is different. So it is a blessing of Allah that we use the sun. He created the sun, and we use the sun not to worship the sun, but to use it in order to calculate when we should be worshiping Allah. So the sun is basically a calendar, you can say, that we use, or a watch. Okay, sun is basically a watch, and a moon is a calendar. What do I mean by that? Sun will tell you the timing of the day, so it works more like a watch, and so that's a watch or a clock. Put some rays on it too. So always look at a sun that, hey, it's a natural clock that Allah made for us, and a moon is basically works like a calendar. You can tell, okay, what part of the month it is, the day, and have you gone to the next month or not. That is when the moon is used. So always look at the sun as a clock that is up in the air for us to tell us what time of the prayer is. So anyways, let's get to the prayer. So now remember that in summer days are longer, winter days are shorter. Some parts of the world have nights that are 23 hours long, and some parts of the world have days that are 19 to 20 hours long. So based on that, the timings will be different, but the key is we're going to be looking at the sun and decide when we have to pray. So here I have a prayer time. Before I get into how these times are calculated, I wanted to show you how a typical mosque's calendar looks like. And you might see, when you go to a mosque, and you will see a clock up on right next to where the imam prays, a schedule saying this is when the Fajr prayer is, and this is when the Dhuhr prayer is, or Asr. And then there's a lot of timings, and you just get confused, and you're like, I want to know when the time of the prayer is. So the best way is for me to just tell you, hey, you know what, go to the mosque, look at the calendar, and it will tell you what time the Fajr is and what time Dhuhr is, and you pray at that time. But even then, you still want to know what's going on over here. So I went on a couple websites of local mosques, and I'm showing you what's going on over here. So let's analyze this and kind of break it down so everybody can understand. Now, know that, okay, prayer time, that's easy. Prayer timings, it's for Saturday, for today's date. And this is the Islamic calendar. We'll get into that more. Here are the prayers, but I gave you 5. There's like 10 things going on over here. What's going on? So we already know about the Fajr prayer. We know the sunrise. Actually, no, I didn't mention sunrise. What's the difference? There's Fajr, which is the morning prayer. So this is important. Then there's Dhuhr prayer, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha. And then there's a couple other things going on. So I thought there's 5 daily prayers, but I'm seeing 8 timings over here. So let's just talk about those 5 daily prayers. Now, there are a couple terminologies that are being used. First of them is adhan, right? Adhan. And then there is iqama. Also, you can see over here the same word iqama is mentioned. This is another local mosque over here. It only gives me 1 set of timing. How come it doesn't give me 2 sets of timings, right? So here's the deal. There's a time when the prayer enters. That means that, okay, this is the time when you are allowed to pray. And then there's another timing where where they pray at the mosque. So let's say 6:36. You can see these are kind of odd timings over here. 6:36, 7:59. So this is the time Fajr you're allowed to pray Fajr. 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:36 in the morning, you're allowed to pray Fajr. Okay, but 6:55 is when they actually pray at the mosque. So that's the difference. One is the timing. So you can, another way of saying is adhan is basically the call of prayer. The call of prayer, meaning now you can pray. This is, you're allowed to pray at this time. Okay. Iqama is the scheduled time at the mosque. A very brief description, but the key is this is a scheduled time where they actually start the congregation. There we go, congregation, right? This is when you actually start praying at the mosque. So one is let's say you're praying at home, you don't got time to the mosque, or to go to the mosque is too far, and you say, hey, I have to pray right now. Tell me what time I'm allowed to pray Fajr. Okay, well, 6:36 is when you're allowed to pray Fajr. Now that's the morning prayer. When can I pray Dhuhr? I can pray it at 12:43. Okay, 12:43. That's the noon prayer. Remember I said, and the Asr prayer starts at 3:45. So that means that in between this time, I can pray Dhuhr. Now don't wait till 3:44 just to pray your Dhuhr. I can say, yeah, you're allowed to, but that's just really playing games with the timing of the prayer. The best time to pray is like 12:43, 12:44, 12:45, and that's why you can see that the timing of Dhuhr is at 12:43, and about 15 minutes later they have the timing scheduled at the mosque. Asr prayer enters at 3:45. And they wait about half hour and they say, hey, as long as it is before this 5:27 time, we're going to pray at the mosque. You can see Maghrib, which is the sunset, it enters at 5:27. 5:27 is when I can pray the sunset prayer. And right after like 5 minutes, they schedule to pray at 5:32. 6:50 is Isha. I'm allowed to pray Isha at 6:50, but they wait till 8 o'clock till people, put their kids to sleep and whatever's time they have to spend with their family. They come back after work. Let's try to make it, not too late, but not too early either. So they wait about an hour to pray the Isha prayer. So that's how it works. You are allowed to pray. You can. So if adhan is when you can start to pray. And you have till the next prayer to pray this Dhuhr prayer. Asr timing is basically from 3:45 till 5:26, you can say. Okay, but don't delay it. I'm just giving you the legal terminology, but the best time to pray is of course at 3:45. Maghrib you can start praying at 5:27, and you have till 6:49 or 6:48, whatever, to pray this Maghrib prayer. But again, don't delay it until 6:50. Prayer right away. And this is the time when it is scheduled at the mosque. You can see this mosque and other mosque doesn't even care about what time the prayer starts. You're at a mosque, they're only giving you the timing when it is scheduled for them to be praying the Fajr prayer, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha prayer, right? So now what is this Jummah 1 and Jummah 2? Jummah is Friday prayer. And since all praise to Allah, the population of Muslims is increasing. The mosque sizes are not as big as the population, so they have two timings. But you can see that both of these timings. So they say Jummah 1, the first set of Jummah. This is where they, and I'll get into that more. But this is basically equivalent to a Sunday prayer for Muslims. And when the Jummah comes, you have to make sure that you pray at after Dhuhr time. You can see most of the time they schedule it after Dhuhr time. So Dhuhr enters at 12:43, and they say, you know what, the first khutbah we're going to have is at 12:45, and the second one is at 2:15, as long it is before the Asr prayer. So what happens at this Friday prayer is that you skip Dhuhr. You skip Dhuhr, the noon prayer, and you replace it with a sermon, and you pray Friday prayer. And these are the timings of Friday prayer. And now what else? So what does the sunrise mean? What that means is that if Fajr, you can start praying at 6:36 a.m. You don't have till 12:43 when the sun is all the way up in the sky to pray your Fajr prayer. Fajr prayer, you have to make sure that you pray it before the sunrise. So now let's get into how the sun is, how we use the sun. What if we're in the middle of the desert and we don't have prayer timings of our local mosque? How do we know when the Fajr is and all the other prayers? So let's use the sun to look at when the Fajr comes in and when can you pray and all that, and all the 5 daily prayers. So when the first sun ray appears in the night, so it's nighttime, here's the horizon. Let's say you're at a shore and you're looking down, and this is the horizon line, right? And then you can't see the sun, the beautiful, sunrise or sunset. You can't see that right now. Sun is somewhere at the bottom of the horizon. There's a time where it comes in about over here. Okay, when the sun is like right here, you will see that first ray of light appears in the sky. That is when the Fajr time enters, and you can pray Fajr prayer. But when it comes, so as soon as the tip of the sun, you can start seeing it, okay, it touches the horizon, it's the end of Fajr time. And that is why some of those calendars will say that's the sunrise time, meaning you cannot pray Fajr anymore. And there's no prayer after that, okay? So Fajr comes in when it's very bright light in the sky. Now you can start praying Fajr, but you have until sunrise to pray your Fajr prayer or the morning prayer. Sun comes up, is going and going and going, and it gets to the top of the sky. And then as soon as it starts moving a little bit to the other side, okay, as soon as it passes its highest point, now it is the Dhuhr time, which is the noon prayer. So it's very hot at that time. That's the noon prayer. Then it keeps going, and it's about to, now you know that it's starting to make its way down, and it's going to be Asr time soon. When the object or the shadow is equal to its length, so you can just put a stick, and you can say, you know what, the shadow of the stick is about equal to his length. That's when you know that it's Asr time. Okay, and this is all instructed to us by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that's when Asr time comes in, and that's what we call the late afternoon prayer. Now the sun keeps going down, and all the way below the horizon. You can't see the sun anymore. At this time, there's still light. Okay, there's still some light, actually a lot of light, but you just can't see the sun anymore. That is when the Maghrib time enters. You can start praying Maghrib now. No more time for Asr, but it's Maghrib time now, which is a sunset prayer. Now the sun keeps on going down even more. When it gets to a point where it's just completely dark, that's the night prayer. You can't see the light anymore. So the calendars that I showed you before are basically calculated by the location wherever you're living. By you have apps in these days that you can download on your phone, but the best thing is to go by your local calendar. As you can see at this mosque, it says Saturday, January 17. Or right here, if I click on this annual prayer schedule, it will actually give me the prayer time of throughout the year. And it will give me a huge chart saying this is when the Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha will be on such and such day of the year. So everything is calculated based on the hadith of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His saying when the Fajr comes in, when the Dhuhr comes in. It talks about the shadow of a person when it's equal, and that's when the Asr is. And then Maghrib is the sunset. It's very simple, but the key is you can look at the sun or go to your local mosque and just go by the timing they have. Adhan is basically when you're allowed to pray until the next prayer. But Fajr is a different case because you don't delay your Fajr and until Zohar comes in. You have to pray before the sunrise, which is 8 o'clock or 7:59, according to this calendar. And again, every location has a different time. And Iqama is basically when the prayer starts at the mosque, the scheduled timing for the mosque. So keep these in mind, and that is the timings of prayer.